3, 2. Fuck. All right. Episode 1 of the True Love Tattoo podcast. I'm Michael Forrest and I'm so excited. It's been a long time coming. Been wanting to do this since end of last year and we're finally around to doing it. Before we start, I just want to give a quick thanks to Killer Merch for sponsoring the podcast. I've been getting stuff by Killer Merch maybe since like 2013 and it's
Same.
Always fucking good.
They're the best.
They're the best.
I wouldn't go to anyone else.
No, they're fast.
Yeah.
They're insane. I've seen them screen print shit with like 10 colors. Like it's almost photorealistic by the time they do like 10 screens. It's mental. Local dudes, fucking epic. You might see them at local tattoo conventions. They're always there. They're always doing stuff. So Killer Merch, check them out. You won't be disappointed. So episode 1, I've got Josh Todaro of The Grand Illusion here with me.
Pleasure to be here, Mixter. Big Mick.
Big Mick. We're deliberating beforehand what he was going to call me for this podcast, and I'm fucking disappointed he went with Big Mixter.
But what are you going to call yourself?
Big Mixter now. I have to. It's episode 1 now. I have to roll with it.
Because I think you should introduce yourself.
Oh.
Who are you?
I'm Big Mixter. I'm Michael Forrest, tattoo at Man's Ruin here in sunny St Kilda, the same beautiful suburb we're currently recording this podcast inside the historic Hotel Esplanade. So Josh, I want to talk to you. I've loved your work for fucking ages. A very, very long time.
Thank you, Michael.
Both
I really appreciate that.
Trad stuff, portrait stuff, pop culture stuff done with a trad twist. I absolutely love it. I want to sort of address the fact this isn't your first podcast.
Yeah, I did a podcast recently with my friend Wayne Fredrickson. He's from somewhere in California.
Somewhere.
He moves around a lot. He's from California in the States, and he's guest spotted at my shop a couple times, which we've been really lucky to have. And if you've heard the name before, you might have heard him from his YouTube channel, which he's a bit of a personality. He likes to do like daily videos of him in the shop and stuff like that, and they get a lot of traction. People want to see it. So
if you haven't heard it, the podcast is called Unite and Win. And I've listened to it twice now. Josh also called dibs on first episode of that podcast too, just like this one.
I got to be first.
Podcast.
If you ain't first, you're last.
If you ain't first, you're last.
You can be second, third. Hell, you can even be fourth. But seriously, I've lived my whole life by that. If you ain't first, you're last.
100%. So what I really liked on that podcast, I'm not going to make you repeat everything you've already said, but what I found really interesting on that, you were talking to Wayne about how you sort of went to like an arts high school, so you could sort of focus more on your drawing and illustration and stuff. So that's always been a bit of a priority for you.
Yeah.
And you also said that you got your mum to buy you a tattoo kit on eBay. So you're in high school and you've somehow convinced your mum to buy a tattoo kit.
Yeah.
So you can use it as another medium for your artwork.
Yeah, exactly.
And how long?
Yeah, my mum's a legend.
How long between getting that and tattooing people illegally in your bedroom?
It was pretty much like day one. I opened it out of the box and set it up very. I don't know how I followed the instructions or whatever. How do you really write instructions on how to like set up a tattoo machine properly? I feel like it takes...
Step 1, don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like it takes years to learn that stuff. So you can imagine what it's like trying to do it from like an IKEA type manual. But yeah, pretty much day one, I just opened it all up, set something up, went straight to my room and started just like
so
straight to my
how
leg.
old were you? How old were you then?
I think 16.
16. So like from 16, you knew you wanted to be a tattooer.
Yeah. Yeah. I was,
no other backup plans. It was just tattooer.
I always wanted to do something with art anyway. I'd been drawing since I was like, like those kids that just are drawing from like 5, like, it's all crap, but then like, your mum believes in you and just like
once you make the fridge, it's just smooth sailing from there.
He's the drawer in the family, and so I was always kind of that kid, like, family anytime we had like a family like Christmas or something, all my cousins and stuff are asking like, what have I drawn recently? And, you know, that sort of stuff. Like I was just always drawing. So like I started like collecting comics when I was like 8 or so. And just, I couldn't really read very well. So like I only brought comics purely for the visual aspect of it. And I would just like flip through it, just look at the images. I thought that's kind of all it was just like looking at, oh, cool, he's in that pose, he's in that pose. That's all I ever really saw. So like,
just like tracing it, copying frames and stuff.
So I would just like, trace Wolverine comics, trace whatever I wanted. And it's kind of like every Christmas someone would give me like a drawing book or like, you know, Simpsons drawing book and this sort of stuff. So did you get those books where it's like how to draw a portrait and it's like draw a circle, draw a cross through the circle. And then finish it.
No, draw the rest of the fucking face. It's like,
it was essentially that. Like I never like really understood the technical side of it. It's just, I was more kind of like a photocopy type guy. I would just like sit the photo there, or sit the comic there and then just like try draw it. Like I never really understood the shapes and the proper like, the proper technical way of drawing. It was more like cartoon sort of stuff. So like, all through primary school, it was just like, drawing on all my textbooks and stuff. And then when I was in like grade 6, I went to these cartooning classes, which were run by this actually famous illustrator, Rod Tokley. And he did like storyboards for like Terminator 2 and like Queen of the Damned. And he used to draw the center page of Live to Ride magazine every week, like Ed Roth type, like Frankenstein like driving a hearse and stuff. Yeah. So he used to draw the center of that every month. And so it's a really like Australian renowned illustrator. And he just started running illustration classes basically for, you know, beginners to advanced. And so I did them for a few years. And he was like probably, I would technically say he was my first mentor. Like he really took a shine into me. How often were you going to these classes? Every week. Every week? Yeah. So it was like, you know, Wednesday after school or something. Yeah. And it was actually right near my house. It was fucking crazy. So I'd walk there after school. And he sort of became my first mentor and really took a shining to me, you know, got along well with my mum. So he kind of like stayed this like family friend for a while. And it was actually funny because he had a few tattoos and it actually, in a way, he did sort of lead me to tattooing, but in like a weird roundabout way. Like he used to ride like Harleys and stuff and he had tattoos and I sort of knew he was drawing for this Harley magazine. So like I knew he would know tattooers. So actually like when it came time, you know, when I was about 15, before I went to that art school, I tried to do work experience at a tattoo shop. Yep. So that's actually, I thought when I was 16 was when like I decided I wanted to be a tattooer, but then I remembered recently that I actually tried to do work experience at a tattoo shop. You know, like in year 9 where it's kind of like you just do work experience for a week at some place. So I actually called up Rod and I was like, oh, hey, like it's me. Like, do you know any tattooers that I could do that with or something? Like he's the only link I sort of had to tattooing at that time because I didn't have any tattoos or anything. And he sort of like yelled down my ear at through the phone, just like, you are not doing that. That's not what I was like setting you up to do. Like, you know, like fully like yelling at me like a dad would, like, that's not for you sort of thing. Like, really like frowned upon. That's strange, especially considering he had tattoos and was sort of a little bit in that scene with the Harleys and all that. It's kind of weird, I guess. Like, I guess his vision of the tattoo industry was maybe like the 90s type stuff that, you know, like maybe he got those tattoos young and he sort of thought he knew what the tattoo industry was like and, you know, wouldn't suggest his son do it. So sort of like when another like pupil of his or whatever suggested it. He sort of reacted in the same way of just like, nah,
Yeah,
not
right.
not that industry sort of thing. So I was kind of like a bit turned off. So then, yeah, I left that. I was like, oh shit, okay, guess I'm not doing that.
So how
Yeah,
long
and then-
how long did it take from being a 16-year-old going to those like cartooning illustration sort of classes to finishing school and getting a job in the tattoo shop? How old were you when you started in a tattoo shop? Like got your apprenticeship or just as like the shop help?
Pretty much when I was 18.
Like
Yeah.
straight up.
Well, I'm 18 in October, and yeah, so that was like year 12. I turned 18 in October, and then pretty much November school was out. So then those holidays, I kept tattooing friends at home, but also for about the year before, I was going to and from the tattoo shop that I eventually started at, and I was popping in there weekly and just hanging out, and like Woody was helping me.
What was that shop called?
Irizumi Inc. in Elsternwick, just sort of around the corner.
Still going, yeah?
Yeah, it is still
Yeah.
going. Yeah. I'd be interested to know for how much longer. I think Woody's been trying to sell the business for a few years now.
Yeah.
I think he's a bit over it.
It's kind of old.
He is and he isn't. Like, I think, yeah, I don't know.
Just been doing it a long time.
I don't know.
just kinda-
Yeah, I think he just kind of he really thrives when he has a good crew around him. Like when he has like a fresh bunch of like young kids that are all pumped. He's all of a sudden loves tattooing again, and he can almost like see the joy in it again or something. And then
Right, right.
a couple people leave, and then he just like is burnt out again and like bitter like or whatever. So I think he's just like maybe sick of that roller coaster.
Yep.
And he wants something a bit more just, I don't know. I could picture him personally just like moving away, living in some small town and
Living on a beach, drinking
kayaking every
coconuts.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
He like loves kayaking. He loves the outdoors and stuff. So I can picture him doing something like that, I think. Yeah. I don't think he's the type of person to just be cooped up.
Yeah, totally. You mentioned in the podcast with Wayne that after working
Did I even answer your question
I don't
about working in the shop?
I don't remember what the question was.
I think you asked me how long it was before I worked in a shop.
Yeah. So 18.
So I got my apprenticeship pretty much as soon as I finished school, because like I was already popping in and out of that shop for the last year during year 12, and then as soon as it finished, I was meant to go to uni to study audio engineering because that's what my dad wanted me to do. Not audio engineering. I loved audio engineering. I love music. I love that side of everything. I still do it today. But my dad was just like, I think I'd mentioned to him that I wanted to be a tattooer, and he just like hung up the phone and didn't speak to me for like 6 months. So
Totally. My parents were a little bit like that too. They were sort of anti-tattoos for a while. Like I remember when I got
just
my...
anti like lack of education, or like that. He comes from a time where it's like you have to go to university no matter what.
Yeah,
no
well,
matter what you study.
I went to university and got my apprenticeship in my third year of my 4-year degree at university. And my parents are like,
Get
are
me
you
outta here."
fucking kidding me? Like
you're almost done.
You're almost done and you've gone and gotten, like, I still graduated, but like, they're like, what was the fucking point in you being to uni?
What, you finished the 4th year despite
Yeah. I
tattooing still?
I was apprenticing.
That's full on.
I was studying at that point 5 subjects a semester because I failed a couple. Then I was working like 2 bar jobs as well. So they were sort of like...
That's a lot of shit on your plate.
Yeah, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I just like being busy.
Yeah.
You know, you're the same. You've got Reaper reprints. You got your printing business.
I do love being busy, but just for some reason, the education system never appealed to me at all. I just like... I don't know. I don't learn well from like reading books or like being told how to learn things. I'm like
Are you
a hands-on guy.
a visual learner?
Yeah.
You want to see it
visual
done,
and hands-on.
like done and explained to you.
Yeah, just
in
show
front of
me
your
how
eyes.
to do it and then just let me do it. Don't show it to me over this long drawn-out period where by the time I learn how to do it, I'm fucking bored of it. Like, and I think I get that from my brother. Like, my brother raised me from basically the age of 8 or something. And his whole thing is just like, just do it. Like, don't don't learn. Yeah, learn it to an extent, but just do it. Like he renovates houses and stuff like that, and basically just like YouTube's how to do stuff, and just like goes out and buys the power tools and just fucking does it. It's like
gives it a burn.
You know, I guess like once you get that general safety, like don't do this when you're operating a power tool. Like, you know, the rest, I think these days, you know, it's pretty much just like go for it sort of thing.
DIY.
So like, I don't know. I learned that from him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the wrong way to go about it, but it's just like I do not thrive in a
well, you kind of did that by getting
education.
the tattoo kit at such a young age. You kind of took it upon yourself to just give it a fucking crack.
Yeah, see, maybe that wasn't right. I'm not saying that's like the way to live life, but like
totally, you were just eager.
Yeah,
which sort of
seems to have worked out.
Sort of what I wanted to ask
eventually.
you. It's you obviously wanted to be a tattooer from a pretty early age, like 15, 16. And then you started working in shops and apprenticing at 18. And how long have you been tattooing now?
Well, I'm turning 29 in a couple months. So I guess it's been like, 11 years in a shop environment.
Yeah.
It was like 5 years at Elsternwick, and it's been 6 years at the Grand Illusion now. And then just, that sort of year and a half beforehand of tattooing sleeves on my mates in my fucking bedroom.
Top notch shit.
It's insane. Like I hate saying it, and I said it in the last podcast, and I'll say it again. I do not condone that at all. I'm not like super proud of like, I'm self-made. Like I taught myself, like no one helped me type thing, because it's not true. Sure, I tried to learn by myself, but nothing for me started going in the right direction until my mentor told me to stop doing that. Forget everything you know. You're starting from here. You know.
Yeah, totally.
Stuff like that. And then it even happened again for me when I went to America about 4 years into tattooing or 3 years into tattooing. I worked at a shop called Feldman's Tattoo Parlor in LA for 3 months, which then became the Martlet Tattoo Parlor. And again, it was just kind of like all I'd known up until that point was what my boss had taught me. And then those guys there were just like, nah, forget everything you know about that. You're starting from here sort of thing. So It's kind of like, I feel like, you know, even the tattoo, I don't know, the art industry is maybe always like that. I feel like you're always learning something. You always think you've learnt it all until someone really stops you in your tracks. And whether it be like you see a new way that a tattoo can be done.
Well, there's a million ways to do anything.
Yeah.
So a million different approaches to the same thing. So they might see the thing that like you taught yourself or Woody taught you and think it's absolutely insane. This is how they do it. But it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's just so many different ways to do things, different ways to tackle any problem, which is great. There's a million solutions to one problem.
That's why it's really hard when people ask, like, you know, I'm sure you get those DMs every now and then on Instagram and Facebook of like, hey, looking for an apprentice, or how do I get an apprenticeship, or how do I do this, or how do I do that? Sorry, I got the hiccups. It's really hard to just like give this definitive answer of like, oh, this is how you start tattooing. It's like, it's not. I don't even know how it begins. Like, I know how I did it, and I don't even think that was right. So it's hard for me to comment on what I think is, this is a tattooing career start to finish.
Yeah.
I don't know it. I'm still learning it.
Everyone's different, and everyone's entry into the industry is going to be different too. I want to ask you, in the 11 years that you've been tattooing, have you ever at any point doubted what you were doing? At any stage where you're like, fuck, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should be doing something else. This is way harder, or maybe I'm not cut out for it. Have you ever like really doubted yourself as something you've wanted for so long?
It's an interesting question, and I know what you mean by it, but not really. I don't. I've always loved it. It's from day one. It's been amazing. Really, like. Even when negative things have happened, I always just stop myself and be like, if that's the worst thing that could happen in my job, that's not that bad. Like,
Totally.
you know, people are out there fucking lifting bricks every day, like
cement in 40
fucking
degree
like
heat.
hurting their backs and falling off ladders and shit. It's like, yeah, that's not even the worst thing that could happen to them. Like,
Yeah, totally.
you know, like, I don't know. There's really nothing. There's nothing that's really put me off tattooing. I've like really been super lucky to have such a good run that I've had. Like, I started in a great shop. I worked with some great people that taught me a lot, and I didn't even leave that shop in too bad of a state. Like, you know,
you were just sort of like ready for that next thing. You're ready to begin that next chapter.
It's not like I left of just like, oh my God, like I could fucking quit tattooing today and whatever.
Yeah.
I've never really had that like big moment. Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with the people you surround yourself with. I've always been surrounded by super positive people, really motivating people. Like, yeah, even now at the Grand Illusion, it's like I'm working next to my wife every day. It's like pretty amazing.
Such a good team.
It's
you got
like,
there, man.
yeah.
Everyone there is just an absolute sweetheart.
Yeah, I work next to my wife, and then Tim's been there for 5 years. And
Can't get rid of the guy.
Yeah,
He's just fucking...
Yeah, he just hangs around.
Fight him like 3 times. He just keeps showing up.
But he's just like the fucking best, and he's just so technically good, and he's a really like... He really wants to know like all the new stuff, and he's constantly learning, and he almost like, you know, teaches me those new things. Like, you know, I get a bit sort of... I don't know, sometimes I'm just like, I feel like I don't want to learn a new thing this week. Sometimes I'm just like, everything's been going pretty good. I'm just going to like see how long this goes for. And then when something goes wrong, you know, I'll sort of fix that. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm not super into the whole like experimenting every day. Like, oh, I'm going to try this stencil product. Oh, I'm going to try this new ink. I'm going to try these new needles. I'm going to try these new
microdosing every morning.
Yeah. It's like... I don't know. It's like, I feel like the tattoo industry is just like, so many products are coming out and so many people are saying like, this is the way you need to do it now. This is the only thing I use, and this is the only thing I use.
I'm sort of like that too, man.
Swearing by things, and it's just like,
I'm sort of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
you know?
and
like,
if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, I'm all for trying new things, but at the same time, it's like there's no point throwing out what I know to begin something that I might fuck up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like, you know, that's the line you need to sort of walk, I think, with tattooing. It's like, okay, you can experiment on a piece of paper all you want. You can fucking take a crap on a piece of paper and like smear it around and be like, ooh, like, but like, you can do that if you wish. You could try whatever medium you want.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is someone's skin. You know, if you've kind of figured it out where like the tattoos are healing well, healing in a good time, you're giving people what they're expecting, you know. I think people come to me expecting something like kind of bold and like lots of black. So I'm not going to like go ahead and try, you know, use some thinner line weight to like, or some weird machine I think isn't going to give me that like bold, clean line, like without chewing up the skin or scarring or whatever. Like, there's so many things to think about when someone suggests something. Yeah. You almost just need to like see their work. If it sort of looks like what you're going to do, I think you can, you know, take that sort of advice and experiment a little bit. But I don't know. I do get set in my ways a little bit. I think I could maybe branch out more with that stuff, but I just get really comfortable and I'm like,
that being said, it's that fine line of I think I'm onto a good thing. I'm going to ride this out. But at the same time, knowing when and how far to push yourself with something new. It's sort of like you don't want to get stagnant. You want to always sort of be changing or evolving. Yeah. You know, you want to be getting better. You want to be improving. So how like...
Yeah, how
with the crew that you've got, like your beautiful wife Avalon and Tim and
Courtney and Dylan.
Yeah. You know, like how have those guys, like working with them, how have they pushed you forward?
Well, yeah, it's super cool. Like we all really are such like a strong team. It's super cool. We're just every morning is just us coming in, and while we're drinking coffee and drawing, we're like, oh, what do you got on? Oh, I've got this. Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Like, oh, do you have reference for this? Do you have reference for that? We're always just like constantly the whole morning is just us back and forth until like the sketches are sort of done, and then the clients come in, and then it's just like, you know, we're into it.
Do you
and
have
I think
like
that
this,
really helps. Like I've seen shops that don't work like that, where people are just like in their own corners or in their own rooms or something, where you're doing your own thing, and it's almost like this private studio type thing.
Yeah.
I'm just here to do my art, and then I'm going to leave.
Yeah, I definitely like that community.
I don't see how you grow in an environment like
Totally.
that.
Do you feel any sense of like healthy competitiveness with the guys in the shop? Do you
Yeah,
sort of
I think
like
so. I think we all push each other to like,
one up each other sometimes?
yeah, like if you see
Yeah.
something really fucking good going down, you're just like, oh, fuck, what have I been doing all week? Like, why? Like, yeah, I was over here in like comfortable mode, like, yeah, I'll just do this rose again. And then like over there, like something insane is going down. You're just like, fuck. All right, tomorrow I'm picking it up. I'm coming in half an hour early. I'm really, and it's good. So you need that around you. Yeah, like Tim's been doing a lot of big back pieces at the moment, which, yeah, he approaches it in a completely different way to I do. And, you know, I think we scare each other a little bit in the way we approach things. Like, I approach things just like way too loose for him, and it like freaks him out and almost makes him do it more refined.
You just kind of like show up, wing it a little bit, sort of work it out as you go along, where he's like more meticulous in his approach to stuff. Yeah,
super meticulous, and just like my looseness makes him be more meticulous, and his meticulousness almost makes me looser or something. It's like, it's this healthy balance of like, we are referencing each other and like bouncing off each other, but it's like pushing us to do our thing better. Like,
Yeah, totally.
You know, it's kind of weird. You almost need to like see someone do something a little crazy to like inspire you to know that like you can be crazy too, but like, you know,
Yeah.
and you work out that level that works for you. But yeah, and having Dylan has been really refreshing because he's sort of the first like young guy, like young tattooer to work at the shop really. Like generally at the shop, it's always been sort of like 5+ years experience at the shop, like which has been great. Like kind of like having that, like not always having to teach someone something. Like I never really wanted like a young guy that, you know, like I just don't, the shop just, I feel, doesn't really have room for an apprentice at the moment, just because we're all so focused on like what we're doing that it's just like to sacrifice a bit of that attention and like put it into something else, I feel like is going to water down, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That's a lot of responsibility as well.
Yeah, it's like you really, if you're not going to give that person, you know, a good chunk of your energy and really teach them and like show them everything, it's kind of like you're doing them a disservice by even saying like, yep, you're going to be my apprentice, I'm taking you under my wing, but then not really showing them anything, and they kind of end up being the shop apprentice.
Yeah.
And that brings the other people down because now they're like, well, fuck, I didn't even want this apprentice, and now I'm teaching him how to tattoo. Like, you know? So it's like, when people ask me, do we take on apprentices, it's kind of like, not that like we don't have room or it's like we're too good for that, like, no more people should learn how to tattoo. I'm open to it, but it's just, if I'm not going to be able to teach them, you know, like, and give it effort, then like, what's the point of doing it? You're just putting another uneducated person out there to like get bitter about the industry real early on, and then, you know, go, you know, it's just, it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, and I always look at it like when someone takes on an apprentice, that apprentice will always be Josh Todaro's apprentice.
Yeah, like in their shadow,
like,
almost.
Yeah, totally. But like like the mentor's name is always going to be attached to them. Even when they've been tattooing 10, 20 years, whatever it is, you're still like...
That person taught you,
That person is going to be a reflection on you. So I remember Dan, who taught me to tattoo, Dan Pollock in Wagga, he said like really early on that he just wants anyone that he teaches to be better than him. He's like, that's all I want. You know, he wants...
So that involves a lot of commitment.
So
to
much
get someone better than you. Like
so much. But like, I thought that was such a really really good mentality to have.
Yeah.
It's like you
Big
want
time.
that person to achieve everything you ever wanted to achieve and more, you know? And then once you see them sort of reach those sort of heights or whatever, you feel like, yeah, I've done good.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like to be able to do that and to be able to give someone that is such a crazy responsibility.
Yeah. I don't know if you could like have a wife and kids and do that sort of stuff. It's like you really need to be at a good point in your life to be able to give that to someone.
Yeah, that apprentice
And
is your
really-
kid.
Yeah.
Like, they could be the same
yeah.
age as you, but they are your kid.
Yeah, I almost feel that way with our shop guy at the moment, Sully. He's such a legend, and it's an idea I tossed up with for a few years, having a shop guy, because for pretty much the first 5 years of owning the Grand Illusion, the first 3 years was with my business partner Aaron Hingston, who's an amazing tattooer as well. We opened the shop together. But he had a lot on his plate and he lived very far away from the shop. He was traveling like an hour and 20 minutes to and from every time. So it's hard to ask him to put in as much effort as I was, who lived quite close to the shop. You know, I did a lot of after hours stuff, and whenever we had guests in town, we'd go to dinners and things like that. So it's hard to ask him to do the same thing. So when he eventually left, the next 2 years was basically me doing like everything at the shop, like going and shopping for supplies, like doing online orders, calling ProTat, like, you know, doing all this extra stuff on top of me having to like tattoo full time, and then going home and doing Reaper Reprints, our printing company. And it was just like I had so much on my plate that I was like, I think, you know, I need to work out the finance thing of like being able to pay someone to do all that stuff and me still being able to tattoo and just focus more, like, because I feel like it was affecting, you know, the quality of work and almost my passion for tattooing.
It's hard because you go from being a tattooer that rocks up at 8:30, 9 in the morning, gets his stuff ready for the day, tattoos all day, goes home, repeat, to being a business owner of not one but two businesses where you have all that shit to worry about too, which cuts into all your time.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's very full on.
And like you said earlier, like, I'm someone that likes to be busy all the time. I never really like thought of it as work, but it's kind of like once you start taking away a few of those things, you realize how much more time on your hands you have, how much less stress you have. And you're like, oh shit, I think I was taking on a little too much.
How do you think you're juggling it now between
I think it's fucking perfect now having Sully. Like, a year ago we hired Sully. It was so funny the way it came about. Me and Tim were just like tattooing, and I was just like, fuck, man, I think we need a shop guy. Like, you know, just bring it up in light conversation. I watched, I rewatched the Smith Street via Stocko, and just like the little extra bit about their shop guy is just so fucking funny. I was just like, man, we need someone like that. Like, just, it is a fun job, I think. I think I would, if I wasn't tattooing, I'd like to be working in a tattoo shop.
Well, that's how I began.
Yeah.
You know, and then it led into an apprenticeship.
So I'm almost seeing like this nostalgia thing in Sully. I'm just like, fuck. I remember like being that age and having fun, you know, working in a tattoo shop and not having the stresses of actually tattooing.
Yeah.
It's quite refreshing.
Well, for me, it was literally pocket money on a Saturday. I was getting tattooed and I was in there while I was at uni. I think I was 19 when I started at the tattoo shop, and every Saturday I just went in, did the cleaning, did appointments, served people, all that sort of stuff. And it was just so much fun hanging out in the tattoo shop.
Yeah,
but I didn't expect it to lead to anything else. And
so you didn't really take on you didn't have like a formal apprenticeship like from the start. It started as a shop guy thing that turned into an apprenticeship.
Yeah, as it went on. When it got to the point where Brian, who used to own the shop, left, moved to Thailand and sold it to Dan. And then it was just Dan. And it is crazy busy down there. So many small towns around. A lot of people travel to our shop to get tattooed. So I got to the point where Dan's like, fuck, I need someone else tattooing. And I've just been there. I've just been around, you know. And I'd always drawn growing up too. So he was like, do you want to apprentice? And I'm at uni
almost
and I'm
like half the thing is finding the guy that's right.
That's
you know?
it. You can't apprentice someone you don't trust.
Yeah, you need this person you trust. You need this person you can be around all the time. You need this person that you know is going to learn and not like, you know, you try to teach them something and they argue back or something. It's like,
I did that.
yeah, but you know, I think he maybe got like a good gauge of like your sense of
I feel
person.
like the hardest part when finding an apprenticeship, which is why it's so hard when people just walk in off the street with a portfolio.
Yeah.
They've never been to the shop before.
It needs to be someone that's been just tattooed at the shop, like flat out, and we all already know him. And then it sort of comes up naturally, and it's almost like, yeah, you are the right guy. Like we know you. That's how Sully came about. We were just all tattooing him. I'd known him since high school. And he was just that guy that, like, you know, sometimes on his days off, he'd just pop his head into the shop and be like, hey!
He's just always there, always in the background, watching, waiting.
Yeah. But, like, he was just kind of always around and, like, always sort of doing art and, you know.
I feel like as long as they have the qualities that you can't teach someone, you can always teach them to tattoo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can teach someone to draw. You can teach them to tattoo. Are they trustworthy?
Scrub a toilet.
Scrub a toilet. Get right up in its fucking S-bend.
Plunge.
Yeah. Oh, man, I've seen some shit.
Yeah.
Literally. But it's are they a good person? And from the opposite end, someone going for an apprenticeship, you don't want to just walk in off the street
and be like, hi.
Yeah.
One apprenticeship, please.
What if the tattooer is a dick?
Yeah.
You know?
You don't even know us. Like, why do you think we're the right fit for you?
There's so many people out there that will put an apprentice on as scab labor, not pay them, do all that shit.
Yeah, and when it goes bad, they just fire them. And it's like, oh, well, I got 4 months of free work.
Exactly,
I didn't have to clean for 4 months.
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize.
It's a cop-out. That's why I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's like you walk in off the street, you're going in dry, you know, you don't know them, and then, you know, you want to be able to trust your employer. You want to be able to get on with your employer and hope that they have your back outside of work as well, you know, because it's such an intimate environment working in a tattoo shop.
Yeah, you need to be around everyone, you know, all day. And, like, it's a very close thing. It's not like, oh, you're in the office, we don't really see you. It's like, yeah, you need to get along with the person.
Yeah, for sure. So you've fucked your wrist.
Yeah.
What's going on with it? Are you okay?
Well, it's just sort of ongoing injuries, really. I think they're all just like melding into one at the moment. I'm not sure what's exactly wrong, but I don't know. Since I was a teenager, I've had like kind of, you know, fuck things with my shoulders and back and stuff. I like stopped doing sports at school, stopped skating, just because like
you're a drummer. You're a drummer as well.
Yeah. I was for some reason drumming like maybe like loosened everything up and
it was okay?
like it was actually maybe the one thing that was good for it.
Yeah, right.
Definitely skating, like, you know, dropping downstairs and like that compression probably wasn't very good for my back, and sports in general never really like felt good. So yeah. And yeah, I've always sort of like gone to, you know, doctors, physios, massages type things.
Yep.
Pretty much since I was 17 or something. And it's only in recent years that like a doctor and physio have really been taking it seriously, because you know, every like 2 weeks or something, I'll wake up and like my whole wrist will be swollen and I can't like move my hand, and like there's just all these shooting pains, like all just shooting up my arms
the one wrist
and stuff. It's kind of in both. It's just kind of like this week will be this arm, 2 weeks later will be this arm, and it's almost like the exact same thing. Do
you get that dry needling? You ever had that?
I've got a bit of a fear of needles, so I tried it once and like almost threw up. So I'm not going to do that. But anything that doesn't involve needles, I'm pretty good with.
Tattooing?
Like massages, I guess that's the only thing that doesn't involve needles, and massages feel pretty good. But I don't really like getting needles or anything, which is kind of ironic because I got to see what was going on with my nerves. They had to stick needles in all my nerves and shoot like electric shocks up through them to like time.
Like a relay to see.
Yeah, like a relay type thing to see how well they were working. And so that was just like fucking an hour of like sticking a needle in, moving it around, and like sending an electric shock. And that was probably the worst day of my life. But yeah, it was actually that test that sort of discovered that there's this nerve going all the way out my arm that is completely dead now. It's like damaged and doesn't work anymore. So that was leading them to think it was this thing called thoracic outlet syndrome, which is an extra rib in my shoulder. So I was possibly going to be getting surgery. But now I just went and got an MRI last week and it wasn't that. So
back to square one.
Yeah, sort of back to square one. Good that I don't have to do that surgery because that was going to be like an 8-week recovery, like 8 weeks each shoulder or something. So I was like trying to get my head around that. Like, fuck, like not going to be tattooing for that long. And then after the 8 weeks, is it just like I start tattooing again, or is it like, one tattoo a week for whatever? So that was stressing me out a bunch. It's kind of good to know that it's not that. So I'm seeing a neurosurgeon this week, figure some more things out. But like you were saying earlier, is just like we know so many tattooers that have these sort of like work-related injuries that are almost like permanent now. And it's just kind of like, okay, we're all just sort of fucking our bodies up for this craft that we love doing. Like, where's the line? Like, do we push it till the point we can't use our arms anymore and then say, oh, sweet, it was worth it? Or do we like get the surgeries along the way and take this like big like leap back and then learn again? Yeah. It's kind of like scary. Like the only thing I've got to reference off it was like Tim Hendricks, who I've met a couple times, has got like this whole fucking robotic back type system in his spine now. It's all like metal and shit that, because he used to have to just like stand up tattooing. Like he couldn't sit on a chair anymore. Like just everything was like bed raised up to here and just standing and tattooing. And I think now because of the surgery, he can sit and bend properly now.
Chris
or whatever.
Garver does something about like tattooing with back pain and all that sort of stuff. He's part of like some foundation regarding like back pain. I really didn't look too much into that.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I'm not like crying like poor me or whatever. Like I'm the one guy that has a hurt arm. But
how often do you get like those flare-ups? Is it like
it's pretty much like once a fortnight. It's like getting pretty regular at the moment.
Getting like more and more regular.
I think like more intense. Maybe not more regular, but like last week when you probably saw me posting about it and stuff was just kind of like the final straw for me. I woke up and literally could not move my hand from like there to there, and just like, these fingers were all fucked, and just like my whole arm. Like usually I'll wake up, during the night with this shooting pain, and I'll just like go and grab some painkillers and like smash them and just like at least try get through the night, and then I'll book like an emergency like physio appointment to just like relieve, try loosen it up, because I have tattoos to do that day. And usually it results in me like cancelling that day, and then I'm good to go for the next day or whatever. But this time was just like I smashed these painkillers and then was just like sitting up at 4 a.m. like literally crying on the couch, just like, this is fucked. Like, this is the worst pain I've felt in terms of this. And so, went to the physio the next day. That didn't really do anything. I sort of stopped having painkillers because they just make me feel sick. So I'm kind of trying to work out how do I go about it without
all those like codeine, endone sort of things make me really nauseous.
They're fucked. Yeah. So that first day I had codeine and did absolutely nothing, and then I had Nurofen later on in that night, and that sort of reduces the inflammation, so it kind of works. But then Nurofen kind of fucks with my stomach, so I stopped having it, and I'm just like sitting in pain trying to deal with it, and I can't like really exercise it to like make it feel better. It's just like immobilize it, like strap it up.
Yeah.
Just wait for it to figure itself out.
Just wait it out.
Even like ice was like too much for it, like aggravating the nerves or something. It's just like, ugh. So yeah, I was pretty fed up last week, and that lasted a full 7 days. Like, couldn't tattoo for 7 days. It was fucked.
Yeah.
So it's getting worse in terms of like intensity, but not really more often. It's just, and yeah, now this week I'm fine. So I've like smashed tattoos all week.
Yeah.
But I don't know what next week's gonna do. So that's why I'm really trying to like work out what's going wrong, because yeah, obviously.
Have you done anything at work for everyone that works with you to sort of minimize
group yoga sessions or something? Pilates classes?
I wasn't thinking that extreme.
Oh.
It's quite extreme. Everyone I worked with did a group yoga session the other night and I didn't go.
Really?
Yeah, in the shop.
You should have gone.
And I'm pretty sure Pete like swapped a yoga session for a tattoo or something. And they're just doing it and moving everything aside. And like people are walking past at night, like looking into the shop and it's just a bunch of people doing yoga in a tattoo shop.
I'd be into that. That's the thing. I think I want to get around something like that. Something that like balances, like brings me back to square one and like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Like part of me wants to do it.
Energy and
part of me
stuff.
wants to do it. And then the other part of me is like,
super lazy. Yeah.
yeah,
it's fucked.
total laziness.
Why is like the cure for these sort of things like really frustrating stuff to do? Like we were talking earlier about this, the neck thing you have to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, what, you need to like lift your neck back like this and hold it for like 10 breaths and do that like 20 times a night. Just forever. That's just what you do now.
A couple of months ago,
fuck that. That's
a couple
so
of months
annoying.
ago, I was getting like really bad back pain, and every day I woke up, it got worse and worse and worse. It got to the point where I'm like, it was like a Saturday morning. I was maybe 5 days into this, and I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I like had to get my girlfriend to like physically help me get out of bed. It was so fucked. And I'm like, I'm going to a chiropractor tomorrow.
Yeah.
I did that, and then I had to get X-rays, and then go back to the chiropractor, and then it was 2 sessions a week for like 6-7 weeks, and then once a week after that, and then my private health. I ran out of like sessions.
Yeah.
And then it just got more expensive and I stopped going.
Yeah.
But I should probably maybe keep doing that because it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because I sit like a fuckhead all the time. I'm probably doing it now.
Yeah. But like, we do, but it's kind of like, oh, you feel so guilty. Like, yeah, I know it's me sitting in this fucked position, but it's like, I tried to do it the other day. I was kind of like, oh, I'll just like sit back here and tattoo. I'm just like, I can't see what I'm doing. Yeah. So no. And like, you know, it's just kind of like, fuck. Okay, yes, we're not helping ourselves by tattooing like this. But like sometimes that's just like, okay, what do you do?
It's unavoidable.
But that's kind of why I was like, the other week you might have seen that video of me like trying to just tattoo through the fact that my hand didn't work, and luckily it was my stretching hand, so I was just kind of like, oh, I've seen people like just kind of pull the skin down and tattoo like this.
With your strong hand.
But yeah, what the fuck? Like, you know, you see those you watch like Stoney Knows How video,
Yeah, man.
and he actually has a hand that doesn't really work, and he just kind of does that and tattoos. And like his tattoos look great.
Yeah.
and so I was like, whatever, like I can make a fist, I'll just like put paper towel there and I'll just like, you know, tattoo like that.
Imagine if you got like those
nothing was
bulldog
happening.
clips and you like
Yeah,
stretch your skin and like clip it
behind
on
the
the back
skin.
and it's
Yeah.
just like done that.
And yeah, that whole like, we call it the bikey grip. I don't know what it's actually called, but
I've
yeah.
heard Viper grip. Yeah.
Viper grip.
Yeah, it
I think
sounds-
it's bikey grip because it's such a
I
90s way
may
of
have
tattooing.
misheard it.
It sounds very similar. But yeah, you grab it from the back of the arm and then you just like this. But it's like, I don't know. I kind of said that to my physio. I'm like, oh, don't worry. I'll just start doing this. If you think I can't do that anymore, I'll just do this. And I tried for like 2 seconds. I'm just like, well, that line's not even in there.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't do that.
Yeah, and that's not gonna work for every body
This
part.
thing as well, I was just kind of like, I can't tattoo that way. I don't know why, but like, because I haven't learnt to do that, it's just something about the tightness of the skin. I just couldn't like get it, and it was just like making everything else hurt. And I was just like, fuck no, my back's killing me. This hurts obviously. And I was just like, to the point where like Avalon luckily had a cancellation and was just like watching me just like, this is
You get her
fucking
to stretch shit for you.
grim. Yeah. She just put on gloves and was just like, I'm just gonna do this because this looks fucked. Like,
And that's luxury.
like I was just like, you could tell I was panicking. Like,
Totally.
it's probably one of the lower moments in my tattooing career.
And there's nothing worse than when you're tattooing someone and you're starting to stress and you're starting to sweat and you're like, hey man, can you turn the heater off? And they're like, it's not on.
Is it hot in here? I think,
But it's like
no aircon's on, it's freezing.
Yeah, man. If you start to freak, then your customer's going to freak.
Yeah.
And it's just bad for everyone.
It was just one of those moments where I was just like not really proud or happy of like what was happening. I was just like, this is definitely a low point in my career. Like my body is actually failing me. Like what?
Yeah, that's
going to
be
happen
stressful.
every 2 weeks.
I feel like
what am I going to do?
when you're like 60 plus and that shit happens, you're like, I'm getting old, but like you're still a spring chicken, my friend.
Oh, mate.
And when that stuff starts
turned
to
18,
happen,
so
you turned 18.
I'm good
just
to go.
turned 18. Cracking beard,
But yeah, like Jane Laver from Chapel.
yeah.
Gave me some encouraging words
What'd
of
she say?
like, she also is just went through similar shit. And again, she's like, don't do surgery. Don't do anything doctors tell you. Like,
What?
I'm ad-libbing here. Sorry, Jane, if this is not at all what you said. But what I heard was,
Smoke weed.
just a fucking... Nah, but like she was saying she sort of seeked alternative medicines type thing and does
Right.
all this like micro stretching, micro things.
But
She reckons she essentially cured what doctors said was uncurable other than surgery. You know, like carpal tunnel syndrome.
Do you
or
ever
whatever.
think stuff like that might be a temporary fix to a problem? as
or a
opposed to
case
like,
by case thing? Like that's why I've been seeking these further tests, because doctors are telling me like, I don't think this is your regular like, you know, arm pain, shoulder pain. Like this could be this serious thing where you have to get this bone removed, or it's like stamping on a garden hose, like stopping it, letting it go, stopping it, letting it go. After a while, if you do that for X amount of years, that's just
it's going to cut through the hose.
The bit you're stamping on is going to be damaged. So the last thing I want to do is like permanent damage. So that's why I'm doing these tests to like find out what's happening. But I'm open to these alternative, like, sure, if doing this like, you know, 1,000 times a day or whatever, like some subtle thing is going to cure me, sure, I'll do it. But like,
it's worth
I'm not going to like
giving anything a
waste years doing this and realizing, oh, actually I need surgery here and I could have fixed it.
Yeah,
Or
totally.
Something more just like to the point. But
I feel like so many
don't know.
people get that. Like my uncle's a house painter and he got like carpal tunnel just from swinging a brush around in like both wrists.
Or like I was tattooing a client the other day who's a chef, and he said he got tennis elbow because he like
Sauteing too hard.
throws a pan a lot. So he's
Yeah.
always doing this with like a heavy pan.
True.
And it's just like, like I'm not crying poor me like, oh, I'm a tattooer, my back hurts. It's like everyone hurts.
And sometimes
a chef doing this with a heavy pan, I'd rather tattoo than do fucking that every day.
even
That
you know,
sucks.
like chefs or people in hospo, and they're you know, they're standing on cement floors for
at least
7,
we get to
8
sit
hours.
down every day.
Right.
It's probably not good that we're sitting
Yeah.
down like this,
Hunchback.
but even people in offices are like sitting here with like a key. Fuck, that already hurts my shoulder. Like, I couldn't even do it for the joke. Oh man. Yeah.
But
It's-
it's almost inescapable in any profession where you're doing something repetitively day in, day out. It's gonna do something.
I think that's why they call it repetitive stress injuries
Yeah.
or repetitive something injuries. It's where you're just doing the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
And it just, you're only using one muscle where like there should be like 10 doing that job, but you've taught yourself to only use one. And so you've completely shut out all these other muscles that, you know, it's fucking weird. My physio explains it to me every day and I'm just like,
I thought
this is too crazy.
I thought
don't know.
chiropractors were a scam. I'd never been to one until
I
recently.
think chiropractors are a scam.
All right,
probably, but
let me change
don't
you.
they just like snap bones and
Yeah, it's real
things, yeah.
satisfying.
I think physios do more like
All right.
help with
I'm
the
going to
stuff,
explain to you what they explained to me. They may have won me over. You know, I might be buying their bullshit.
Hearing this from a chiropractor is probably not.
Yeah. So,
But I'll let you
so
continue.
basically,
Yeah.
I had really severe back pain, and they're like, that pain is coming from the muscles trying to correct irregularities or inconsistencies in your spine. So that's your muscles trying to push it to, so basically keep you going. So it was like you get an adjustment and you feel pretty good for a day or two. But if you just walk away and you never go back, your spine is going to go back to how it was. Because that's what it considered normal for however long.
Yeah.
So you get like regular adjustments. It basically trains your muscles and all that sort of
think
stuff.
that's normal.
That this is the new normal. It's the new default. And that's why you have to go sort of
So
twice a
regular.
week for whatever, just to basically, so your body gets used to the new normal. So
But
what-
physios try to do that in a different way of like your one muscle is trying to correct this when really all your core muscles should be trying to do that together. Like to fix my neck, she's trying to get me to like strengthen my core in my groin, which apparently because that's such an important muscle of like holding me up, not, you know, like you feel your lower back drop like that. If that muscle's strong and holds your lower back up, all this is open.
she give you a lot of thrusting
So
to
it's
do.
kind of like, yeah, a lot of like,
a lot of thrusting exercises.
just like these weird little subtle things. I'm like, okay, yeah, like written down on paper, that makes sense. But it's like, fuck, doing this little thing like every fucking day forever now.
I just
is
imagine you with like one of those elastic bands like tied around your hips and you're just like thrusting against
Yeah.
a tree or something.
But see, maybe I'm someone like you that just likes to just be like shoved in the right way and just like that's normal for the next couple of days and just come back and
all I'm
do
saying
it
is
again. Like,
she made a very convincing argument
Yeah.
for me to spend a lot of money there.
yeah, it does make sense.
But I felt way better and I feel a lot better now. I should probably still currently be going. I haven't been answering their phone calls when they've been trying to like book me in again. I've been too scared. I hope she's not listening to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it made sense and I feel way, way, way better. And I've also been more conscious of like not sitting on my wallet and stuff as well.
yeah, one of those George
Costanza,
Costanza
all the
wallets.
receipts.
All the receipts, like on like a right angle instead of being close. You're sitting on a lean. What are you doing?
Well, basically, you know, that was like throwing my pelvis out and then that was fucking with
You
my
are
spine.
kind of
And I'm sitting
lean
on
that way more.
I'm sitting on my wallet right now. Now I'm really
good.
self-conscious about it.
But it's like that again. That's a tattooer problem. We only get paid in cash, so our wallet kind of like gets.
That is not my problem.
Not your problem. Not too much money. Not at all.
Definitely not.
Anyone listening, please book in now with MJ Forrest.
I have a GoFundMe account.
Yeah, he's.
Donate to Oxfam.
Oh my god! Enough about sore backs. What else you got written down there? Is there something we've missed?
I wrote a surprisingly
I know you had a few
small
little
amount
notes.
of things.
You had a little notes. Did we actually cover them all?
We definitely talked about sort of
I think we were talking about something earlier before the podcast. When we were just like gas bagging before.
where I told you that I sent like a really like embarrassing like sappy message to Todd
Fanboy
Noble.
message.
Yeah, fanboy message to Todd Noble.
Well, I guess that's yeah. What was the segue for that? That like
Well, he
know.
had a thing on his Instagram story.
art inspires.
It was sort of his thing was he had one of those Instagram ask me anythings. And
They're good. I did that last week, and
They're
it was
great.
like it's amazing the things people say. I think that's what led us to it because I was just saying like half of them weren't even questions. Half of them were just like, you inspire me so much.
Yeah, you
like,
get some heavy stuff.
I'm depressed. I don't live near you. It's just like, that's heavy, dude. Like, I don't know. I'm just doing tats. Like,
yeah.
I think that's something I definitely didn't expect that tattooing would lead me to. Like people, you know, I'm not like tooting my own horn or anything. It's just like every now and then I'll get this like super epic message just from some kid other side of the world like, I'm from blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, your art inspires me daily. Like, you know, just I love everything about it. You know, I'm depressed. I'm not near you, like whatever. And just other people like sending me like really deep and meaningful stuff, like full pages worth of things to like read. And it's just like, that's like amazing. Like, I don't know where it translates, like how me doing what I do translates into like someone, you know, obviously I have followers, people are following the work, but like to think that it actually means something to them is just this world that it's
crazy because when you look at how many followers you have a number, and it kind of just, I don't know, you just think of it as a number. This many people follow me.
Oh, it's just like people like seeing tattoos, so it's kind of like it doesn't shock me that we all have a lot of followers. It's like, yeah, tattoos are like really appealing to look at.
But imagine if you got all of those people that follow you in like one room and you saw like how many actual people that care enough about what you do and like enough what you do to be engaged and want to keep up to date with what you're up to.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. And then for all those people, they're all following you for different reasons as well. Like there are the people that, you know, the stuff that you do really means a lot to them. And it's crazy because you might think I'm doing a cool eagle tat today, whatever. And then, you know, someone on the other side of the world, they're like, fuck, I really look up to this guy.
I guess that's what led you to this podcast because you mentioned to me earlier that you set out to do something kind of different with this podcast.
Yeah.
You wanted to show people, what was it?
I wanted to, I feel like a lot of tattoo podcasts talk about tattooing, and we talked about it a little bit, but I'm really happy that we sort of talked about things that are relatable to people outside of tattooing. So people that are following you and want to hear more from you and get advice from you and hear more about your experiences and like ups and downs and all that sort of stuff. I think that's what people are quite interested in because everyone sees the photos of tattoos and not knows what goes into it and not know, you know, how much effort and time and like ups and downs went into getting to the point that you're at to do those tattoos. And I just find that really interesting. So I just wanted to talk to people like you and all the other guests that are going to be on this podcast and find out for myself all those things. And I thought it'd be a shame not to share it with other people, you know?
Yeah, it's good that it's not going to be one of those podcasts that does focus, you know, on one thing like social media or like one thing like the technical side of tattooing. I guess that's what those Ask Me Anything on Instagram really shows is like people don't want to even know the technical stuff. You know, you almost put that out there and you're like, I almost wish I didn't post that. Like, it's just going to be like, what liner do you use? What this do you use? What this do you use?
How big's your dick? My mates always send that one. Every fucking time I do one of those Ask Me Anything, it's always like dick-related questions.
Yeah, and I just say there's no ruler small enough to calculate like the micro. It just doesn't. Yeah.
Wider than it is long. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah. But like, no one ever actually asked technical stuff. So you're on the right path of thinking that people don't want to hear that shit. People only ask me about, tell me about your wife, tell me about your pets, tell me about what inspires you, tell me about what bands you're into at the moment. Did you used to play in bands? Like, what was that? What was that? Blah, blah, blah. It's very like just personal stuff, almost outside of tattooing that they can like add to the tattoos, like you say, and like it gives them a clearer picture of maybe the way I approached it. I don't know.
I feel like it makes you more relatable and it makes your tattoos more relatable.
Yeah.
When people sort of understand you a little bit. And there's definitely like a sort of, you know, you got to be careful about putting too much out there about yourself, you know, especially when you have a platform that you do where you've got so many followers. It's like, you got to keep some shit to yourself, you know, because people can be a little bit weird, but they want to know. They're genuinely interested. And I feel like when they come in and they get the tattoo, it's all part of the experience, you know. They're not just walking in, walking out in 1 second and they have an image on them for the rest of their lives. It's sort of like that whole experience.
I like when people come in and know a bit about me already. Like they already know that they're going to talk about horror movies. They're going to talk about like metal bands and, you know, like it's kind of cool. Like people come to me and they're like, I got to get this Dracula off you. Like, you know, I know you're the guy to do it. Just like, I fucking want to do anything horror related, anything sci-fi related. Like,
I think it must have been one of the first of the trad portraits you started doing in the vein that you've sort of gone down now was a Dracula, right? And it was sort of like
that was like number one.
I remember that. I screenshot that.
That's
and I
amazing.
hated myself for so long looking at that, going, "Fuck this guy."
Yeah, that was literally number one. I'd done like black and grey portraits in the past because I used to like paint portraits before I started tattooing.
Right.
Like big like canvas type ones. But yeah, that Dracula one was the first colour one I tried to do. I just thought like, well, it's like a horror portrait, super high contrast, most of it's black, and then it's going to be this like cool tone. So I'm not going to like worry about like the flesh tones or anything. It's all going to be with blues. So it's just like black and blue portrait. I think it came out really cool, and I think that's what drew me more towards doing the horror type stuff because those older sort of Universal monster pics were all black and white, so they had this super heavy contrast. Like lighting was a real important thing of like, you know, like blacking out half the face, and then it's only like that's the part you're doing the portrait of. It's like kind of easy, an easy way to start anyway. And then it kind of like steered more towards doing like grandparents and shit off these like super blurry old photos. And then in black and white, I have to turn them color.
It's amazing.
And it's just like, fuck, like, I like every one of them is a challenge, but it's a challenge I'm open to. And
I feel like it'd be super rewarding too.
Yeah, it's like at the end where I just like look at it, I'm like, yes, I think I like captured that enough, but also did my own thing with it. And it still feels like a traditional tattoo to me. Like I always try to pump a bold outline around it. I mainly do the hair just flat black, like try not to worry about the details of the hair or anything. I'm not doing like strand by strand. So yeah, but it was definitely the horror portraits that led me towards it because I like collect horror books and horror comics and stuff, and they all have that really graphic imagery where like half the face is black and half has this like red light glowing over it. So it just makes for a good tattoo, I think.
Yeah. They're so cool. And before we wrap this up, I think I want to ask you one more question.
Mm-hmm.
If you could go back to little Joshy Todaro, he's just turned 18, he's just started tattooing, what is something that you would want to, a bit of wisdom you'd want to impart on him then that he probably should have known earlier that's taken you this long to work out?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know exactly what I would say, but I think like something pretty important I learned like early on in tattooing was just like, you know, take a step back. You haven't figured everything out. You're definitely not as cool as you think you are. Just like,
yes,
you know, take a breather. Like, I think like the young person in us wants to like, just like get everything done as quick as possible. Maybe skipping the fundamentals. I was always kind of like that with drawing and stuff. I never really like learned the technical aspect. I just always wanted to just like, today I'm drawing, I'll just sit a picture there and just like copy it. I was like, you know, I guess I have a short attention span, but yeah, early on in tattooing, like when I first got that job at Irizumi, it was like, I thought, oh, like I'd been given this job because like the shop needed me and like,
right,
you know, like I was doing them a favor or something. And so I was just like strolling in, doing tattoos, like, you know, not caring, sort of, I don't know. I you know, you come into it with that like fresh, excited attitude.
It's easy, it's easy to get that ego on you early on too.
Yeah.
Because being young and getting a cool job like tattooing,
yeah,
and all your friends are like, man, that's so cool. You sort of believe the hype a bit.
It's just like, yeah, hyping you up like way too much. It's what I was saying earlier. Continue about what you said. What did you end up saying to Todd Noble when you messaged him? That fanboy message. So, I think we should go back there before we wrap it up.
Let's bring this up
I think
again.
it's interesting.
So maybe 20 minutes before we did this podcast, Todd Noble is one of my favorite tattooers of all time.
But that's why I think it's important. Is because you're doing what I was saying, like kids are doing. Like you understand it. Like I'd like to hear your input of like why you felt the need to message Todd Noble, like why he inspires you so much. Like
I was compelled. He had a thing on his Instagram story saying that he answered someone's question. I can't remember what it was, but he said that his mentor was kind of shitty, didn't really teach him anything. And then I messaged him saying, well, fuck, looks like shit's panned out okay for you. You know, like I've looked up to your work since I started tattooing like 5 years ago. I like constantly look to your stuff for reference. Like, you know, fucking thank you, essentially, you know. And there's so many tattooers that I like. If I wasn't so impulsive, I probably, you know, I would have messaged them too. Like, there's so many people. You're one of them, man. Like, everyone that's on this podcast, like, I just want to fucking shake and say, like, thank you. Like that fucking Dracula portrait that you did, like, a couple years ago, you know, like that's still on my phone somewhere.
But I think that's sort of crazy, like, where you're at, hitting up your mentor, or not mentors, but like your prime inspiration, you hitting him up about this podcast and like, oh fuck, should I even hit him up? Like they're gonna just say no, like it's kind of dumb, and then they say yes, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, how is this even happening? But they're also thinking, like me being on the other side of it, not that I'm whatever, but like me being asked by you is also like, oh wow, like such an honor that someone would even think of my work in that way, that like,
but a lot of
it's important or
to me
whatever.
For this podcast, a lot of it's not even about the work. A lot of it's not even about the tattoos, man. A lot of it is people that I've met, especially this first season of episodes, are people that I've known a little bit or a lot. And I've had conversations with, and every time I've walked away from them, I feel like I've learned something from talking to them, or just
I think I talk absolute crap, but the fact that you walk away and think you've learned something is like pretty awesome.
Totally,
like,
man.
I think that's equally as awesome as you walking away thinking you've learned something and being like, that was awesome. Like, yeah, and that's something I didn't understand until you asked me to do the podcast and Wayne asked me to do the podcast, like, you know, and, you know, getting these certain sort of messages like that was me 8 years ago or something, you know, hitting up people I looked up to and like, you know, asking for guest spots or asking to, you know, or like, bumping into them and thinking just like, what the fuck? Like, how did I just meet that guy? Like, why did he just talk to me like I was normal?
You ever just talk to them?
What's happening?
You ever talk to someone you really look up to and not realize it was them?
That hasn't happened. I'm the kind of guy that will just be like, hey, you're that guy. And they'll be like, yep. I've
done it, man. I've gone to conventions.
I've done that to celebrities.
I've had fucking hour-long conversations with people at conventions, not knowing who the fuck they were, walked away, then seen them later at a booth with the banner up, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, no, I've made a dick of myself.
Yeah, I try not to do that. I guess maybe that's happened along the way, but I've maybe learnt from it.
Yeah.
I'm more one of those guys that like seeks out who I'm about to talk to and like maybe like Googles them before I speak to them or something. Just like, oh, where are you? So wife and 2 kids, was it?
Yeah,
Amber
you just have all
was
these
the younger one.
These conversation points, all these topic starters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just my own insecurities of thinking I can't hold a conversation with a normal person. Like, I better just really ham them up and think I know everything about them to the point where, like, this guy's cool.
Yeah,
but
fuck yeah.
Probably it works. It probably backfires. You're probably more natural, so.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they think I'm the weird, creepy guy.
Yeah.
But, Josh, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come to Hotel Esplanade and record this.
Thanks for
record this
asking
podcast for me. Episode 1 in the can, and
if you ain't first, you're last.
If you ain't
I've always
first,
said that.
you're last. Dude, thank you so much.
No worries. Appreciate it.